common sense is not common. This means that when hiring, you need to have clear expectations, train on those expectations, and then hold the staff members accountable. Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Puzzle Creative YouTube channel. I'm Mallory, and I'm excited to dive into something that I am passionate about: scheduling for success. I've picked up a few tips and tricks over the past 10 years, and I want to share with you a few ways to create an efficient schedule that helps increase your profits, but also provide stable hours for your team. There are several factors of scheduling that impact what we call a staying culture. This is your ability to attract and keep part-time staff in today's competitive hiring market. Because of this, let's take a step back and head to the beginning of the hiring process. Before we even talk about creating a schedule, I need to make sure we're on the same page with who and how we are scheduling. Let's identify the who or the roles in your company. I'm sure you have a game master, we call them room host, or something similar. Their job description is usually they run the room, reset the room, they host the customers, they put them back in the room, and repeat. I'll mention this more later, but usually this person would be assigned to a specific room they know how to run, right? We have shifted in the past year at all 3 of our locations to put technology and systems in place to have a room host run multiple rooms at once. So now we at Nemesis Escape Rooms have a room host 1 and a room host 2 position that run groupings of rooms. Again, I'll unpack this more later. Another role that you may need is a team manager or shift lead. This is a key holder who is making the big decisions and dealing with customer or room issues on shift. You know, they have keys, they know the code to the safe and the alarm, and are responsible for opening and closing, among many other things. This person is always on. Every shift has to have one, even if they're the only person there. We also have a customer experience specialist, or CXS, who is able to run rooms, but they are assigned to check groups in, answer phones, and emails during the shift. We have this role during our fully booked rounds on the weekends, and it's not necessary throughout the week for us. Like us, you may also have a location manager or a game ops manager who is over your location, or a maintenance specialist or maintenance manager who is constantly in upkeep mode. These positions are more of an outlier in the industry, but I'll touch on them as well as we go. Now, ideally, each of these roles have a job description and an offer letter or email that you used when hiring or promoting them. Anyone who is around me long enough will hear me say, common sense is not common. This means that when hiring, you need to have clear expectations, train on those expectations, and then hold the staff members accountable. For example, if you expect your game masters to clean the location in closing by sweeping or mopping, that needs to be in the job description, and then you need to train them on how to do this. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, many do not know the right way to mop or sweep. And then in a review, which we recommend doing quarterly, you can go through the job description, feel confident that you've trained them on how to do all of those bullet points, and then accurately discuss where expectations are not being met. Or maybe they've been crushing it and deserve a raise. Bottom line, let's define the roles you need, put it on paper, and hold people accountable to what you've hired them to do. I'll also add here that the next generation crave constant feedback and appreciate this kind of clarity. They also want to have a clear path of how to grow. When you have identified roles, you can also have clear ways for employees to get promoted to a next level. In the offer email, you need to have defined how much they're getting paid, how many hours you are committing to for this employee, and what shifts, if any, are mandatory. Essentially, they can be part-time, which is less than 40 hours a work week, or full-time. This is different than hourly pay or salary pay. You can be full-time and still be paid hourly. Make sure you're honest with them in what you can offer. If you know you can only give this person weekend shifts, then I would put it in the offer email that the candidate is being offered 10 to 15 hours a week range, and that can grow over time with more training and as needed. The worst thing you can do is promise 30 hours to seal the deal with a candidate, only to have them ghost you after they only got 10 hours the first 2 weeks. Be upfront throughout the interview process about these things to not waste anyone's time. We require all staff to work a Saturday shift and either a Friday shift or a Sunday shift. It's mandatory. So we put this in the job posting, we talk about it during the interview, and it's in the offer letter as well as something they agree to when accepting the job. Okay, so once we have roles officially made with job descriptions and we know what we agreed to in the offer letter, we also need to be clear on how we are scheduling. This is more referring to the standards you've agreed to in your employee handbook that help dictate your scheduling procedures. We have quite a bit of policies in our handbook that all employees sign before their first day on shift. We then go over these on day one and even take a quiz on them before the shift is done. Yes, they are that important. It outlines some rules that help make our scheduling fair and able to keep staff happy. The first one they need to know is mandatory shifts, which I mentioned earlier. All staff must work a Saturday shift and either a Friday or Sunday shift for us. This availability can change from week to week, but it is not something we ever make an exception on. We also have strict rules about working either the day before or the day after major holidays. We don't care what they do with their weekday availability, as long as this minimum requirement is always met. It helps people ebb in and out of busy seasons with us and stay a part of the team. Another scheduling policy we have are days off. Yes, for part-time staff, we give 5 days off unpaid to each staff member a quarter. This means that if they want to go to that concert or be in that wedding, they absolutely can. They use these to do fun things in their world and still be able to work the weekends needed. We outline scheduling timing and we stick to this. We commit to always being at least 2 weeks out when we release the schedule. If someone needs to change their availability, they must change it before we publish the schedule. If not, and they miss it, then they know they must find someone to cover their shift for them. We even have a policy on how they must get shifts covered. Because they don't always know who is cleared for what rooms, they must actually group Slack message their location manager. Here are a few more things that will help us stay on the same page with scheduling. Go ahead and outline what happens with a no-show and how to handle sick days. We put sick days as their own category, but do require a doctor's note. We are more interested in the note telling us when the staff member can safely return to protect members of our team. Before implementing that policy, be sure you understand your local laws on this. You'll also want to go ahead and include days you are closed versus open, and what days you'll be doing time and a half pay or holiday pay. We give time and a half days on big retail days that are hard to schedule, even if they're not officially government holidays, like Black Friday or New Year's Eve. We are only closed Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. So we make it clear up front that these are the expectations for our staff. Also make sure and understand your local laws for breaks and overtime. For us in Tennessee, shifts 6 hours or longer must have a 30-minute break. We learned a long time ago that it's important to have these be clocked out breaks so that we can prove that they are happening. The main point here is to decide on these policies and procedures, put them in writing, and stick to them. A policy won't hold if you're constantly bending it. People respect a manager that is consistent and fair. They may not always like the rules, but they can respect them when they are consistently executed. Okay, I just threw a lot of information your way. Don't panic if you don't have something like this in place. And at this point, you may be starting to feel overwhelmed. We've all been there. But it's worth mentioning that just because you don't have these things in place, it doesn't mean you can't still implement them. The year is still just getting started, and it's a great time to roll out some new policies. Here's an idea. Have a training night with free food, always have free food, and roll out some policies and play some games. Have them take a casual quiz in SurveyMonkey or play charades to make it fun to help these new policies sink in. A policy game show would also make for a fun, memorable experience. Just make sure and connect these changes to becoming more consistent and more professional, a place where the team can really thrive and grow. They're more likely to adopt these things if they know how it benefits them. With the roles and policies defined, let's discuss scheduling tools briefly. We've been using When I Work for 8 years. We love it, but I am by no means a When I Work spokesman or an expert. It's grown in price over the years as well as features. You will see me using that in the next part of this video, and it's really all that I know. I used a very basic time clock Excel application I found in the first 2 years of our business. It was painful for me, it was painful for the staff, and I said, we've got to solve this. That was about when we had 20 employees, is when it became too much. There are other software systems out there. Just make sure that they have these features. First, the ability for people to clock in or out on their phones and computers on location, just in case their phones happen to be dead. Second, the ability to geofence that, where people can clock in and out at a certain location. They can't do it at their house. They have to do it in a certain radius from your location. The ability for people to see their schedules and accept it is awesome. Reminders via text are awesome and a bonus here. That's how your staff wants to communicate anyways. And then 4, it allows for the staff to see their schedule, put their availability and vacation requests in, and you have the ability to approve that. Number 5, it can integrate with your payroll system or do an export. The 6th thing is the system calculates overtime based on the work week you set up. That's important, so you don't have to do that manually. And then the ability to drag and drop shifts and create templates in scheduling mode. Hit us up in the comments with your favorite scheduling software so we can all check them out. Bottom line, please get software that allows you to make an official schedule that is portable. If you have a smaller team, it's tempting to just do paper or Excel, but this will help you go a long way in keeping staff happy and keeping your sanity in the process. When I interview people, which I calculate I've interviewed close to 1,000 applicants at this point, one of the biggest complaints as to why they are job hunting is the lack of consistency with scheduling. I hear it over and over again. Specific complaints that come to mind are, well, the schedule comes out the Sunday before we're supposed to be at work on Monday. It's not enough notice. Or it's only on paper at the restaurant, so I just keep having to take a picture and then put it in my phone, and sometimes I forget. It's just too hard to keep up with. Or it doesn't take into account their availability, even though they told the manager countless times their school schedule. And on it goes. Do yourself a favor and get a system to help with this. Okay, so now we can talk team size. This depends on a few factors. You need to look at how many people would you need to schedule on your busiest day and agree on the hours you need to be open. Let's start with the easy one. For most of the owners I've spoken with, Saturdays are the busiest days for them. This may not hold true for you, but it holds true for our locations as well. However, have you really looked at your data for the past year or two to know what times are your sold out rounds? Do you even have any sold out rounds? If you act on anything from this video, I hope it's to really look at your busiest rounds are currently, see what they are right now, and get fresh insights on when you can expect to be fully booked. We took a deep dive into this last June. We were operating on old intel, and we needed to know exactly what does our historical data tell us when trying to forecast for the upcoming months, and then adjust those numbers for the percentage that we were up or down year over year. We found some surprising statistics that helped us make adjustments to each location. One of our locations is sold out weekly from 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on Saturdays, whereas just a few years ago, the whole Saturday would have been sold out. Find where your busiest time frames are and when is your slowest time. This will put your soul at ease when you are lessening the team in certain time frames to be more efficient with scheduling. Know that you know when your busiest time is. Also, your team size depends on when you're opening. We long ago decided that we wanted to teach people that we were always open for spontaneous fun and shenanigans. Some of us are amazing planners and would never do anything that wasn't well thought out. While others of us know all too well that when the mood strikes for fun, it's time to go. We want to be open for that moment and be the first thing that pops into that spontaneous friend's mind on a random Tuesday night. Us and maybe Taco Bell. To that point, we're always staffed. We are open 7 days a week. Our games are on our website available to book until 15 minutes before they start. And we will allow walk-ins 15 minutes past the start time for a game, even if it's the last round of the night. And let me tell you something. People do book that last minute. It happens. Kind of a lot. We don't do on-call because honestly, it's hard to build a staying culture with that type of pay arrangement. And it's hard to support the spontaneous fun groups out in the world. Don't get me wrong. On-call pay benefits the owner for sure, but it's a tough sell to a new hire who has bills to pay. We go for more of a win-win approach that has served us well in building a team over the past years. If we are open, someone is on site. And as I said, we are open 7 days a week. But we make sure that those staff members are constantly working, even if we have only 1 or 2 rooms run that day. We have a saying that in downtime, you have to either move people or the business forward. I say that a lot, actually. So they either have to train on their next steps, they have to know their next steps, or complete part of a weekly cleaning checklist that we have. It's definitely something we can tackle in another video, but if we're talking a pure numbers game, it's better to be open as much as possible with 1 or 2 people on the shift so that you can get more sales over time. Anyways, back to the busiest day. It is likely going to be Saturday. So for us, when we ran 1 staff member to 1 room or 1-to-1, and our Saturdays were sold out, this is usually how we staffed our flagship store in East Memphis with 7 rooms. So on Saturdays, we would take 2 shifts. We would have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and each person would have to have a 30-minute break in there. We would have 7 room hosts, 1 room host to 1 room, and then we would have 1 CXS and 1 team manager or team lead. So at 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., we would do that exact same thing over again. And we would do some pushbacks if occasionally we didn't have that first round booked, or we would send people home early if the last round of the night wasn't booked as well. But for the most part, that's what we had. You can see to make it through this day, I would need at least 18 people. And then my formula has always been that we would take this and add 2 people to account for sickness or people needing off with those 5 off days we talked about. So our East Memphis location staff at least would have needed to be 20 people. The hours is important to note here. Let's say we hadn't changed our model and just realized that at most we ever had 2 rooms one at one time before 5 p.m. on Saturday. And then we're sold out 5 p.m. on. Then we would have gone to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. having 2 room hosts, acknowledging that these 2 people would need to know all rooms instead of 7. We might have even said the team manager could double as the CXS and gone down 1 more person. The night shift is still the same, and thus we've pared down our team from 20 people to 14 or 15. This is a big improvement just in itself, and something that you probably could do by looking at your forecast. In our new world, with our proprietary clue system, we call Clueby, in-ear radios for the team, clue buttons in the room, and our new camera setups, we're able to schedule very differently. Again, we just started this last year, and we've put this in all 3 of our locations at this point. I want to pause here and point out that we decided when we went to this model, there were 2 things we weren't willing to compromise on. The first thing we refused to give up on was the practice of groups being greeted at the door by the room host when they escaped with a cheer and hype like they just ran a marathon. The second was we never wanted groups to feel like we weren't paying attention to them. We didn't want the classic, "Hello, are you there?" scenario. We strongly recommend trying to adjust your business model to work with this by using M3 or Cogs. There's probably other software out there, but many owners are creating their own methods of doing a 1 staff member to many rooms model. The business model just makes so much more sense. But if you take this route, just remember there are parts of the customer service experience that we recommend be considered sacred. As enthusiasts ourselves, we think that these two things are really non-negotiables for leaving a good impression and hosting a stellar experience. Our new way of scheduling a Saturday goes like this. We have shifts less than 6 hours, so we don't have to worry about breaks and the team doesn't get burnt out. This has been very helpful. We then have what's called Team 1. This shift is 9 a.m. to 2:30. It's a training ground for us, and newer employees are often started here. It's a lighter load with a lot of families, sports teams, birthday parties. Less things seem to break in this time frame. We will have 3 people on this shift, a team manager or TM, room host 1, and room host 2. We open at 10 a.m. and guests sometimes start to arrive at 9:45 a.m. So the team is opening everything starting at 9 a.m. What's cool is that even if all 7 rooms booked at our east location for a round, these 3 could totally handle it. Data says it won't, but they could if it needed to. Then we have Team 2. This is the A team. This is 2:30 to 8:15 p.m. These are seasoned veterans and can handle organized chaos. If you can be on this team for us, you get paid the most on our staff. We know that we will be sold out during this time frame from years of data, and we can't let the rooms fall behind. They usually know all roles and can be flexible. Here we have a team manager, a CXS, room host 1, room host 2, and for now, our newest room at this location has a dedicated room host assigned to it. It has a lot going on. These 5 people will do 4 rounds of 7 rooms back to back to back to back, and we'll keep them as on time as possible. We do this with an intricate roles and a bit of a dance, we call it. It's got handoffs, a lot of communication. It's a lot of fun. The TM is like a stage manager calling the shots, and it's really fun to watch, actually. Everyone is moving and their minds are fully engaged. The team really likes it, and it goes by really fast. Then Team 3 takes over from 8:15 p.m. to 2 a.m. This is our up-and-coming team members who have to be able to do 1 to 2 fully booked rounds at the start, and then each round later is less booked. We have a team manager, room host 1, room host 2, and a CXS on this round. Groups in this round tend to be a bit rowdier, and this is when our team deals with more maintenance. We have a maintenance manager that also is able to assist all of our locations in case of emergency. Based on this, our team needs to be 12 people with our 2 extras, so we're at 14 people. This is an amazing stride in efficiency. With this model, we were able to raise the pay of our team members based on what team they could start on after our training period. A true win-win for our business. It also operates with 3 team managers on a Saturday instead of 2, which all of our locations had within the team already. This is a strong case for making sure that you're always developing the leaders in your company. Okay, are you still with me? Awesome. Let's look at our Florence, Alabama location that has 4 rooms. This is a slower and smaller market, and we just implemented this system there as well. I studied the booking data and came up with our new normal. We use the same teams for ease of shifts, but the busier rounds for them are actually 4:30 to 8 p.m. on a Saturday. The volume here is more spread out evenly over the day. With this new knowledge, we actually did the following. 9 a.m. to 2:30, we have a team manager and a room host. That's it. And the room host actually comes in at 10 after the TM has everything opened. 2:30 to 8:15 p.m. is still our team 2. We repeat this, but we add in a CXS at 4 o'clock and go until 9 p.m. And then from 8:15 to 1:30 a.m., the team manager and the room host are there. The CXS leaves by 8 p.m. if not needed longer. Okay, let's look at the rest of the week in when I work. I'll copy a schedule and show you my process. For this one, we will look at our South Main location with 5 rooms. All right, so we go up here to copy previous week's schedule. I always like to hit avoid conflicts. This is our real live schedule for South Main, and this would be the week that we would publish for next week. I'll hit avoid conflicts, and it's a perfect example of what we want to talk about because I already see some interesting, fun things happening. All right, so you'll instantly see all of these shifts come in, which I love. This is because it's so easy to just copy the week before. The first thing that you can see is that it pops up where people are unavailable for this week. These shifts go more into open shifts. And I can easily see this is where my biggest problem is going to be. Right here you can see on the 1st we have a shift that has popped up because someone is requesting to use some of their off time. I like to handle these first when I'm looking at the schedule. So I know that this person actually does have time off. Normally I would look and make sure that in the quarter they have had less than 5 of those days. I'm going to approve that request while I'm looking at it. And then you can see we've got to find a home for this one. So as we look through, we can figure out, oh, this person can actually be a CXS here. So we may need to move that around. And then this one you can also see. When I Work does a great job of showcasing when there's an issue. So they're unavailable here. So we're going to need to find someone else to do that. Well, right here, we can just drag and drop, and that person can be that. So awesome, we have those situated. For all 3 of our locations in our one room host to mini model in February, we would put only 1 to 2 people on Monday through Thursday. We just know it's going to be a little bit slower for us, and we usually have one person open and then another person join. We still keep the less than 6 hour rule for the most part to spread hours more evenly. I have several people in here that are in the 20 to 25 hour camp, and then several in the 10 to 15 hour category. Very few of our hourly team members get over 30 hours each week. In the one-to-one model, we would also only have 2 people on our Florence and South Main locations, and we would have 3 at our East Memphis locations during Monday through Thursday. On Fridays, we do 2 shifts at our South Main location, and we open earlier on Fridays actually. You can see because of this, we've had to shift some people around slightly from the norm. Let's take a look at this. So here, we can actually click into Friday. At this point, I like to click into our weekend days and make sure that we have what we need. We can see here that we have our team manager is opening here. They have 5.5 hours total, so that shift is below the 6. Here's below the 6 as well. We have 1 person on CXS because we, like I said, are opening earlier on Fridays. Our CXS is actually ending at 11, which is smart. And then we've got the room host position in the nighttime and in the daytime. So that's actually looking really good. That's going to work out for us. We could even probably save some money by having 1 person open on their own, but this will be good since these rooms require a longer reset and opening time. This is where the location manager would normally open from TM. So if you are inserting yourself into the schedule, make sure that you put yourself as the TM, unless you're there to work on a new room or do something maintenance-wise. You want to make sure you've identified who's actually in charge of this shift, because if no one has been assigned, then there's going to be a lot of downtime that's not really getting much done. Okay, so now we will look at Saturday. Saturday, we've already talked about how we've got these 3 shifts. However, I'll show you, oh, we've got a little bit of alignment here because we moved this shift because of the vacation request. So this is actually something that our team will do if needed. However, I actually happen to know that Tyler works at our East Memphis location and South Main, and he'd be happy to come in for this shift. So I'm actually just going to move that there. But something that you could do in this model is I just put in the breaks. So I make sure that I have someone maybe come a little earlier to cover this little gap and give Veronica this break here if she was going to do a double. A lot of them are happy to do that as long as it is occasional and not every week. We're going to look and make sure that the times line up correctly. We've got 3:30 to 3:30. We're going to check and make sure that we're less than 6 hours. We've got our TM. This is our newest team manager, so he's in that training ground. Then we have the veteran who's been with us like 5 years. And so this is exactly right. This does say 1 a.m. and they know that they may have to stay a little later to get it fully closed down. But yeah, the schedule is looking really great, and I have this person starting later because in February, it's actually March 1st. In March, we will start to pick back up, but this morning slot will still not be fully booked. Sundays, we divide into 2 shifts of 4 hours to not have to break and divide up hours. Before the one-to-many model, we would have just had 7 people on at our South Bend location all day. Okay, so we can clearly see that what worked the previous Sunday is not going to work on this Sunday. So we've got a little bit of moving around that needs to happen. Tyler is able to be a team manager, so we can easily drag and drop that shift. And so we've got that covered. And this person is still good. And then we don't have an opening room host that can come. This little gray mark means they're unavailable until 1. However, this person's available all day. So they know the same position. We can very easily drag and drop, if I can get it right, go back down, and voila. We're gonna move him to actually where he's helping open. Perfect. And this is where we're gonna make sure that we have met the weekend requirements. So are they on a Friday and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday? Here, this person is on all 3. That's not a problem. This person is on 2 days. Perfect. 2 days. Perfect. This person is off. This person is on 3 days. 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. Wonderful. You may ask, well, there's a lot of people on there that actually aren't on any days. That's because that's our lead team. That's myself. Anyone that wants to see and have access to this schedule, which there's quite a bit of people in our company that need to see that, they're in here. You definitely would not need to do it that way, but it helps us all be able to see who we need to talk to and who's on site. So with that, it looks like we've got everything set. We do have a few people over here that are in red, meaning they kind of want this amount of hours, and we're giving them a little bit more this week. Knowing this team, they're all very excited about that and will be happy to work those hours. I would then look at Bookio to see if we have all of our customized start times accounted for. I would add in location manager Monday and Friday checks that we do, and any maintenance specialist time that we needed. For all 3 of our locations in our one-to-many model in February, we would only put 1 to 2 people on Monday through Thursday. We usually have 1 person open and another join. So you can see here on this Monday, we're going to dig in here. We have Monday checks. So we've got some people coming in a little earlier because we're copying a week after a holiday. On, I think, President's Day, which is the Monday before that we just copied, these people would have come in for us opening at noon. However, we now need to adjust that, which is super easy, just like this, to come in later when we are actually opening at 3. So we're just going to drag and drop there. Make sure that there's still less than 6 hours. Beautiful. And we'll do the same here. So as you can see, we would have someone open. It's always got to be the team manager. Remember, they have the keys and the code. And then we are going to have someone join and then do this pass off. And we would only have 2 people here. So as you can see, after you get it set up, it's pretty easy to just drag and drop. I actually do like to spend more time with it and diversify the teams a little bit so they don't get stuck working with the same people over and over again. But as you can see, it's pretty easy to use. After a final check, I would hit publish, and then they would all be notified. When a staff member arrives on site, this is what they see on their phone, and they can hit clock in really easily. One other feature of When I Work that I would love to show you guys is up here on the attendance, you have your timesheets, and this is going to show for our pay period the clock in and clock outs. I wanted to just highlight how easy it is to change when they clocked in or out if you need to. They also can have a note on here that says, oh, I was here at such and such time and I just forgot to clock in. And it's just a really cool system. We can approve this, and then what I do is I will export the period hours right here. And we use iSolved. I think for most of you, to be honest, it's overkill. But once we got to a certain amount of staffing with our different companies, we needed a little bit more of a robust system than QuickBooks. However, QuickBooks has added a lot of features. So When I Work does export directly into QuickBooks, which is wonderful. What I have to do is export the period hours manually and then do a time card import into the iSolved people. So When I work, overview there, really easy to use. And as you can see, people have put in their availability. They're unavailable 9 to 5, like I'm showcasing here. And I can very easily see when they are ready to work and when they're not. So, a few final tips. So, if you have someone that comes to you and they cannot meet the weekend requirements anymore, let's say they've decided to take 19 hours in school, they got a second job that's in their career direction that they're wanting to go, whatever the case may be. A lesson that I've learned over the years that has been really, really helpful for us is don't let them go without a chat. And what I mean by that is talk to them about becoming what we call a floater. This is someone who works 2 Saturdays a month. If you really think that they're a great employee, even 1 Saturday a month can help you. But basically meet them where they're at. And this helps you create a backlog of people who can come in when everyone is sick or everyone, has something that they need to be off for and you yourself can't come in. It's crucial for us in our holiday seasons. We have people that are in floater positions that will come help us get through the busiest time of the year. And honestly, even if it hasn't been 6 months since they ran a room, they pick up like it was yesterday. So these are people, of course, who are leaving well and, have been a respectable employee with you. But use that as a tool, offer that and see, and you might be able to keep them around for longer. And in some seasons, floaters have even decided to come back into the throw of the employment offer that we originally gave them, and that season of life is no longer where they find themselves. So try to use that. And then if scheduling seems overwhelming, just know it is a big puzzle. That's what it is. And so it's a puzzle that we want to use data to inform so that it can be very efficient. And we want to have people who feel valued and can pay their bills and they are understanding about what hours they may be offered. But there are times when you may have to use some creative problem solving. So when you find yourself in a pickle and everyone is sick, don't be afraid to ask people if they will work more hours or work a double or do something kind of creative that you don't have in the day-to-day schedule. It's just a big puzzle. Remember that and keep it fun. That pretty much covers how we schedule now in one-to-many model and how we scheduled in the one-to-one model in the past. I hope some of these insights help in creating efficiency for you, as well as a dependable role a staff member can see themselves in. We will dive deeper into all things staffing and hiring at this year's PuzzolCon, and I'd love to see you there. You can click the link in our bio for more information. Also, to be the first to know when new videos drop, be sure to like and subscribe.